Hi, hello everyone, welcome again to another video. So as part of today's video, this is our second program on the Java series. So what I am sharing is the first program that we wrote, and just to kind of like recap, our first program was this particular class, which is my first Java program. It consists of one public constructor, which is basically a default constructor with no arguments. And then we have the main method, and we printed this thing on the console, first Java program with the TheCreativeAgileIT. We also defined one method, which is addNumbers. It takes two integers and return an integer. And we called this method by creating an instance of this particular class, which is obj. So we call this method, we got one integer, and we printed this one. So as part of today's program, we are going to expand our learnings on constructors and a bit more concepts as well. So what I will do is I will simply copy this constructor and create two more constructors. So maybe we can say this one as first constructor called, and this one as second, and this one as third. How we are going to differentiate? Maybe we can call this one as integer. It takes integer, it takes string, and we can say this one as plus a, and this one as we are going to add this one. So this particular concept, it is called constructor overloading. So constructors in Java can be overloaded. That means, we can have same name defined for different constructors. The only condition is their argument list should be different. So if we see here, we do not have any arguments. If we see here, it is taking one integer primitive type, and it is taking one string. So why do we want to do that? So it allows us to create instances of this class in three different ways. One way, without passing any argument. Second way, by passing it one single integer. And third way, by passing it as an string. And now we can just try it out. So what we are going to do, we can say, we can maybe copy this line as object, and we can say this is our object 2, and we are passing it is 10. Now this is our object 3, and we are passing it as, let's say, welcome. So now if I save this program and if I run, so let's see what it does. So how it has executed, the control first came to the main. It has printed this particular line on the console. This is the one. Now it has printed Now it has executed this line obj instance for my first Java program without passing any arguments. That means first constructor is called. After that, it has printed sum of numbers, which is 10 and 20, that is 30. After that, it has instantiated object 2, and object 2 is instantiated by passing 10. That means, this constructor gets called. The second constructor on this line, it has executed this particular constructor because we have passed it string. So this is an example of how we can overload constructors in Java. So we have three constructors for this particular class. So we have this one, which is basically a constructor which doesn't take any arguments. Then we have this constructor which is basically taking an integer, and then we have this constructor which is taking an string. Now we will expand this overloading concept on this particular add number. So what we will do, we will simply copy this one and we will say add numbers, but I mean we will just make it int c so that it returns a plus b plus c. So now what we are calling is this add numbers is overloaded because first add numbers is taking two integers, second add numbers is taking three integers. So when we overload a method, the return type is not considered. The only important distinction is their argument list should be different. And if you remember the constructor doesn't return anything in Java. So they do not have any return type. So that's why we just have the method name and the argument and the access specifier. Now what we will do is we have invoked the first add numbers. Similarly, what we can do, we can simply say system out dot println, and we can say obj dot, and this is our second overloaded method, and we can say please add 10, 20, and 30. So if I save this program and if I execute, let's see what it does. Okay, so basically, when we created the instance of this particular class, it has added two numbers, which is basically 10 and 20, and it has printed 30 here. But I mean, when we call the object dot add numbers 10, 20, 30, so it has not invoked this method, it has rather invoked this method. So this is an example of overloading. So we have covered overloading of constructor, we have also covered overloading of a method. And now I what I wanted to kind of like try is, we mentioned that this add numbers can be called in a different way. So if I remove this line, okay, and let's make this one as static. Okay, so whenever we make a method as a static, that means that method belongs to the class rather than just instance of that class. So now it is not required to call it using obj. So what I can do is I can simply say system sum of two numbers is, and we can say plus, and directly I can call this method, let's say 100 and 200. There will be one more to close this one. If I save this program and execute, let's see what it does. Okay, so it has printed this line on the console, sum of two number is 300. So now let's wait a minute and try to understand it. So what we did was we made this method as static. That means, this belongs to the class and it is not required to access this method using the object or instance. So if you remember, we earlier accessed this method using obj, but now we have accessed this method directly by using the add numbers. So this is an example of the static method, and this is our non-static method. So if we have to make a method as a static, all we have to do in Java is prefix it by the static. So this is our static method. That means it belongs to the class, and this is our non-static method. We need not to prefix it with the word static, and we can invoke this method using the object name or instance name. So that's all about today's video, and I hope you guys liked it. There will be more such videos on Java Learning Series. So thank you so much.